Welcome to Futro Stories, where we tell each other missionary stories. Today I have a very special guest, Quinn, or in the mission they would have called you Elder Quinn. We're going to start and get right into it. I was hoping you'd be able to share with us a couple stories, if you want to start with one of your favorite missionary stories.
Well, sure, yeah. So, they called me Elder Quinn. Actually, they pronounced my name Elder Queen, and so sometimes, because in the early 80s, Queen was still the thing, the rock band Queen, and so people would call me Freddie Mercury. You know, they would call me Elder Freddie Mercury. So, yeah.
Oh, and
Elder
do you want
Queen.
to say where you served too? I forgot to ask that.
I served in Caracas, Venezuela.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't even send American missionaries to Venezuela anymore for obvious reasons. But Caracas, Venezuela is where I served. Once I got there, we had trouble getting visas to get there. So I went to the Oakland mission first for a few months before we were able to go to Venezuela. So
and you spoke Spanish then?
Yes, we spoke Spanish, yes. So one of my favorite mission stories just has to do with a companion. I held Elder Pace from, I think he was from Ogden, Utah. So I got to Venezuela, and by the time I got there, I only had a year left in my mission, actually, because when I went on my mission, they had changed it for elders to be a year and a half. So, and they did that for a short time to get numbers of missionaries back up. And so I never had a choice to go longer than that, and I tried, but anyway. So by the time I got to Venezuela, after being in the MTC for an extra month because they didn't know what to do with us, and then being in the Oakland mission for 3 months, I had a year left in my mission. And my first area was the island of Margarita, which is just off the coast of Venezuela out in the Caribbean Sea. I had a companion, and after a month, they transferred him, and they were going to send me a new companion that was going to come from the States, and a new missionary that was just a month behind me in the MTC, and I actually knew who he was. And then the day before he was supposed to come, I get a call from the mission president saying he wasn't coming because his visa didn't get approved at the last minute. He was still stuck in like Dallas, Texas or something like that. So I didn't have a companion. But luckily, the house I lived in, there were 4 missionaries there, and the other 2 missionaries covered the other side of the island, and we covered, the other side. And so because I was living with 3 missionaries, I was able to, it was summertime, and then there were 2 young men, they were brothers in the branch there, that were getting ready to go on missions. And so they said they would be my companions. And so at night, I was there with the other 2 missionaries, but during the day, they would show up, and at 6 a.m, the 2 brothers, they were like 16 and 17 years old, and they would take turns. And so they were my companions for that whole month. But then Elder Pace came after a month, and we just really hit it off, and we really got along well. I got transferred a few months later. He got transferred as a secretary in the office, and a few months after that, I got transferred into the office as an assistant. So we weren't companions, but we were there together. And then when I had about 3 months left in my mission, I got released as assistant. He got released as the secretary, and the presiding bishoprics office asked us to travel around the whole mission and visit each branch and clean up their records. So I would clean up their membership records and find people, and he would clean up their financial records, and we would go from branch to branch. We traveled. They gave us a car, and we traveled the whole mission. And then we got to open a new town called San Juan de los Morros, and we got to open a new town that hadn't had missionaries ever before, and so we got to have that experience together for a couple of months. And so that was my favorite story, just all the experiences I had with Elder Pace, and the different kinds of things we got to do. So.
Oh, that's awesome, especially when it's a companion like you can really vibe with.
Yeah.
Because I had plenty of companions that I did not vibe with, so.
Yeah, I did too. But yeah, he was the one that, we really just got along, yeah.
Oh, good. One of your funniest stories.
A funny story. So this is a little embarrassing, but it's kind of funny. It was an area, or city named called Valencia, that I lived in, that we were in at the time. I had a companion. I liked this companion, Elder Scott. It was P-Day, and we were taking our laundry over to a member's house. A member used to do our laundry for us. And it was kind of on the other side of town. It was a pretty big city. So we had to ride a bus and everything. We're carrying our laundry bags with us and everything. We stopped at a bakery on the way, and we decided to do something stupid and have a chocolate milk drinking contest. Who could down more chocolate milk quicker or something like that. And I won the contest, but I lost the war because it made me, it messed with my bowels. And I said, oh, we've got to go. And I'm running. And by the time I got to the member's house, I kind of soiled myself. And we knock on their door, and I'm standing there, and they could kind of smell something. And they said, "Oh, Elder Quinn, you've been drinking chocolate milk, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes. Well, here, you take a shower, and here, let's come and do your laundry." And anyway, it was pretty embarrassing. But and then Elder Scott wrote a funny little limerick. I don't remember the whole thing, but it started out like, "There once was an elder named Quinn who filled up his pants from within," and I don't know. And he kind of shared that with the rest of the mission when a couple months later when I got called as an assistant. And so yeah, that made it hard to go from area to area as assistant and be taken seriously. But anyway, there was that.
That's amazing. I don't know. I feel like a lot of missionaries, at least the ones I've talked to, have had similar experiences. Like one time I was walking home, and after eating a bunch of food, my stomach was like growling at me, and I thought I just had gas, but it was not gas. And so I was walking home like waddling.
That was and I should have known better, because in high school I did a similar thing, and it caused me to throw up in class,
Oh, wow.
Having a milk drinking contest. And so, like, I don't know what I was thinking. I've done this before. I've been down this road before, and it didn't end well. Well, let's do it again. Maybe it'll end better this time. I don't know.
Okay. Do you have a wild story as an option?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
It was on this island of Margarita, and Elder Pace was my companion, and it was like, it was the first thing in the morning, and we were out, and we were walking through downtown, and this guy comes stumbling out of a bar at like whatever time, 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was. And he was pretty drunk, but he was waving a gun around, and he sees us, and he spoke in English, and was like with a Russian accent, and he says, Mormons, I know Mormons. And then he takes his gun and points it at us. And we were next to a corner of a building, and we looked at each other, and we kind of motioned like, let's head around the corner, and we just bolted running. And we both ran, and he was in high school, he was a football player, and I was a track runner. And so, that thing where, well, you don't have to, you just have to be faster than the guy you're with when someone's coming after you or something. So anyway, we both ran probably the fastest mile we just kept running and running and running, and we kept winding through the streets until we got to a member's house. We looked back a couple times and we never saw the guy, but we just still kept running. And I don't think he chased us. He just he was too drunk to chase us. But that was pretty crazy, and that was one of those stories I didn't tell my mom about until after I got home. But because we both then, we said, there's always that thing where, are you willing to die for the gospel? And, well, yeah, but I don't think this would be a good martyr situation. This guy wasn't wanting to kill us because we were Mormons. He was just drunk. So, anyway, so that was kind of crazy. We just bolted and ran. And I don't think he came after us. We didn't look for a while after we started running, but when we did look, he wasn't there.
That's amazing. You're able to get your body to move, because I've been robbed, and
Really?
my body froze. I
Really?
think there's like 3 different types of people. It's like the fight or flight, and maybe the third one's freeze. But like I literally could not move my body. I was so petrified.
Well, who knows? Maybe I would in that situation. But he was, a little ways away from us, and we were right by the corner, so we knew we could at least turn the corner and just start bolting and get down another block and turn a corner before he got there. So that's just what came to our minds, I guess.
Okay. The last question is the spiritual story.
The spiritual story. So what I thought of is, again, I was on the island of Margarita, the first area that I was in Venezuela. And there was a part member family. The mother and all the kids were members, and the father was not. But he was very supportive. And this lady was like the best lady in the branch. She would feed the missionaries all the time. The 2 boys were the ones that were my companions, my unofficial companions for a month while I was waiting for my companion's visa to come in. And they're just a great family. The dad he drove a taxi cab for a profession. And he would sometimes drive around and look for us and ask us where we needed to go, and he'd give us a ride all the time. And his mom was very, very sick, and even though he wasn't a member, he would always ask us to come and give her a blessing because she was having a lot of health problems. She had diabetes. She'd had a foot or maybe both amputated. She was in a wheelchair, and she had a lot of health problems. So he would pick us up. He would look for us, and he'd pick us up, and he'd ask us to come over and give his mom a blessing. And she wasn't a member either, but she always appreciated the blessings. And then one time, he found us again, and he asked us, he said, "It's really bad. It's really bad. You need to come give her a blessing." And so we did, and my companion and I would kind of take turns giving blessings, and I guess it was my turn this time. And this was like a weekly thing that we would be giving her a blessing. And as we entered the house, it just became, it was almost like God appeared to me and spoke, but it was just very clear in my mind that I needed to bless her, give her a blessing of release from this life, that she was in so much pain and discomfort that she needed to be released from this life. And a young missionary, I was really scared to say something like this, especially to a non-member, and this guy, that we'd been working on, hoping that he would take the lessons. He never really officially took the lessons from us up to that point. And I was doubting myself. Even though the message was so clear, I was doubting myself that this was the right thing to do. But I went ahead and did what the Spirit dictated, and in the blessing, I released her to be able to be released from her earthly life, and that she'd be released from the pain. And after I was really worried about the family's reaction, because the whole family was there, because they all kind of sensed it was going to be, she was real. This was a really bad one. And the mom, I guess this lady's daughter-in-law, who was the member, she started crying. The father, after the blessing, he came over and hugged us both and said thank you. And she did pass away later that day. And the family was so grateful for that blessing. And the father finally decided that it was time for him to join the fold, and he got baptized shortly after. And he'd heard missionary discussions for years, and even from his own kids, his own family. And so he was just ready. He just was being stubborn all that time. But, I would have never thought that, giving a blessing that his mother, that was okay for her to let go and die now, that would be the turning point in someone's testimony, but it was for him. So that was really, I'd have to say that was my most spiritual story in the mission.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You can wrap it up with your testimony in Spanish if you can. If not, it's
yeah.
Okay.
I'll try. It's been probably 25 years since I've really spoken much Spanish. I don't get much chance. I used to teach it, but then in the last 25 years, I've taught just English. But I'll try. I did get to use some Spanish in the temple a few weeks ago, but I was reading the confirmation prayer as I was doing confirmations after some baptisms. All right. Yo sé que el Evangelio de Jesucristo se encuentra en la Iglesia de Jesucristo de los Santos de los Últimos Días. Yo sé que Russell M. Nelson es un verdadero profeta de Dios. Yo sé que las familias pueden ser eternas. Estoy agradecido por las experiencias de mi misión. Estoy agradecido por mi familia. Yo sé que Dios quiere que todos seamos felices y exitosos y que regresemos a Él. Y en el nombre de Jesucristo, amén.
Amen.